A new constitution, a topic that keeps everybody on their feet, anxious. The constitution, a topic that seems not to evade everyone's lips as they walk on the streets, with the sentiments, it's about time. When will it be released? What is the roadmap for the long-awaited Zambian constitution?
Wait. For now, we will take a listen to some of the clips that we did go around collecting for you, some coming from the National Indaba itself that did take place. We will start with a clip of the voice of Lee Habasonda, the president of Transparency International Zambia, and that will be followed by a clip of Boniface Chembe, who is the executive director of SACOD. And then finally, we will listen to the Honorable Minister of Justice, Winter Kabimba. Listen to this.
I think this constitution making process is critical and important to all of us. And so it should not create a divide between Zambians, the situation of they and us.
The summit had a total of over 80 to 90 organizations coming from the church, political parties, the student union, and civil society organizations, ordinary citizens from within Lusaka but also out of Lusaka. And the extent to which dialogue prevailed was quite impressive.
And we are now getting into the post-if you want what I refer to as the post-handover stage of the constitutional making process. And if you recall, I have time and time again made a statement that His Excellency the President said to Parliament in 2013 that upon the conclusion of this process by the technical committee, the government and the stakeholders will again agree on the post-handover roadmap that will take us to the enactment of the Constitution. So that's where we are now, sir.
Hooray as well, we should say that at least some dialogue had started. But the problem is now, it showed them that if the government is serious, we should now begin to start talking to the right institutions. I'm talking about the right institutions here, the Oasis Forum, the right political parties, bring those people on board. Yes, you have just seen what happened with this last so-called Indaba. Let this be a learning point, because now we need to be serious. We need to sit down and find a roadmap. If I look at the entire constitution or recommendations that people have been making over the past couple of years, I sincerely hope you'll appreciate the fact that I've seen all the constitutions from 1964. Now, when you look at the contentious issues that are in our constitution, Kamfinsa, there's only about 10 or 12 of them which are very contentious. The rest of the constitution is very fine. Now, last time I was here on your program here, I remember I even passed a challenge to the university students, come up with some of the issues that you believe we should be discussing, with regards to debating for the constitution. Here, for instance, I'm holding a little pamphlet, which took no money to produce, no rocket scientists sat around the table, no lawyers, and so on and so on. This was done by men and women who dedicated their time. It took them about 2 or 3 days to come together with something like this here, which we have produced. And here we are today. This is now ready to hit the public and to coincide with whatever is in the recommendations, to say to people, basically, that if these 10 principles are not in the Constitution, don't accept the Constitution, because these are fundamental rights that people must have. So to come up with this here really cost us nothing. In fact, this little the brochure that I'm holding in my hand here, the very most that one could pay for this here is probably just 2 kwacha or something of the sort. I'm talking about rebased money. So when you come to think about government spending some 14 billion kwacha, my brother, to just put a small little technical committee to look at these recommendations. They spent 14 billion. The group of people that put this thing together, I don't think they would have spent more than 100 kwacha. Now, where do you see the sense? So I think anyway, the 14 billion is now gone. It's now, we'll never get it back. It's been wasted, shall I say wasted, and especially since the government has no intention. The last time I spoke here to you people here about 2 years ago, I had the pleasure of addressing your students here 2 years ago. I explained to you that time that this government of PF has no intention. I repeat, no intention. I still believe they have no intention whatsoever to give this country a constitution which will allow the people to be responsible for the constitution.
What channels would you like the government to put down in which you can air your views and concerns, such as those that you have tabulated as the 10 contentious issues in the Constitution?
Now, all we are saying is that this government must come out with an agenda and tell us what is the program. As I mentioned to you, my dear lady, there is no way you can discuss constitutional issues within 2 hours. It is just not there. It doesn't exist. I mentioned a little bit earlier too that to debate the constitutional issues that we were talking about and some of these points that we've been raising here will take the best part of at least not less than a week so that we can all agree. But then government must make it explicit and very, very, shall I say, they must come out with the issue that the agenda will be to discuss Article 1, 2, 3, 4, which are contentious to us and to the people of this country. That's all. And then we will discuss the rest. But if you don't come up with an agenda, you're not going to get a person like me or big political parties like UPND and the MMD and the NARABs and the Father Bwalias. They're not simply going to come because people are busy. We cannot even exercise our own rights to have meetings with people anymore. So you must understand that these big political parties are busy walking door to door and campaigning since this government is not allowing freedom of assembly. So, people like that are not going to come and waste their time if there's no agenda. Please put an agenda. I think the meeting that they just had now is a very big eye-opener for the government. They cannot bulldoze their way. We are not going to accept it. What they need to do is come up with an agenda, come up with the right institution. I'm talking about here the Oasis Forum, the Catholic Church. Those are institutions that people have confidence in. And when these people say come together for this particular issue, we shall come in numbers. Because why? We respect those people. And those people, if they are going to chair something like this here, then we know we are confident in them and we are in safe hands. Let me explain that the people of Zambia since 1964 have been extremely consistent with what they want in the constitution. Very, very consistent. Even if you look at the Mungomba's recommendations that he's come out with, people have once again demonstrated how consistent they are. And we are asking for the 10 basic issues: human rights, the right to belong to associations of your choice. We are asking for the rights for the press. Is that too much to ask for any government? We are asking that the police, the judiciary, the ACC, the DEC, all of these institutions be given the right to operate on their own and not take orders from State House. We have been consistent from 1964 about 10 issues within the Constitution. That is what we have been talking about. So to say, can we get a constitution which is acceptable to the people of this Zambia? Of course, tomorrow morning. If we send this document to you here at UNZA here for you people to debate, you'll come up with a proposal tomorrow morning. There's no point in it will take you maybe 2-3 hours to debate this particular catalog that I'm holding in my hand. And you'll come up with a conclusion. And we know for a fact that these are the issues that are contentious, and you will agree. And once we have these enshrined in our constitution, the rest we can accept. You know, the 50 plus 1, we can accept that. Even if you don't put it in, I don't care about that. But let me tell you, as long as the president has the powers to remove and appoint and disappoint members of the ACC, the DEC, judiciary, and indeed even the cabinet, the secretary to the cabinet, and so on and so on, if you are going to continue putting in party cadres in these sensitive institutions which require qualifications, people with high qualifications, we are not going to move forward at all. I think we can get the constitution right, and I believe that we can get this country right. Within 5 years, we should be able to turn this country from an institution which nobody respects mostly around the world.
When you come to think of it, don't we have a functional constitution? Listening to what government has raised itself, is not the problem the way we apply some of the laws that we have? Look at the Public Order Act itself, for instance. In its current state, isn't it only the application? So do we not have a functional constitution? That's the question we want to hear you answer.
Let me tell you, in the colonial days, we found this very similar constitution which the white chap used to control the black people of Zambia at that particular point in time. It was, for instance, let me give you an example. It was illegal, and I mentioned the word illegal, for President Michael Sata, who's my age group that time, and Dante Saunders, to drink whiskey, or even to think about coming to a high educational place, such as UNZA or whatever. UNZA wasn't around, but I mean to go to one of these top class schools. It was illegal for us to go even to a 5-star hotel. It was illegal for Dante Saunders or Michael Sata to vote. It was illegal. You see what I'm talking about, the background. Now, the people of Zambia at that time, when we decided we wanted our independence, we rose in numbers and we changed the constitution overnight to allow Michael Sata, Dante Saunders, and the likes of us, the Vijay Mwangas, the winners, and whatever you want to do, all the old people you can think about, to give us a right to be able to come and go to where we needed to go, when we want to go, and how we want to go. So, here we are. We entrusted Kaunda to give us the proper constitution which we wanted. But I must admit that I think we went to sleep. When we put Kaunda in charge of this issue, the Public Order Act, which was there in order to stop people belonging to associations or forming political parties, whatever the case, continued to be there. Little did we realize the danger. When we looked at it again, we wanted it changed. Kaunda quickly brought in the one-party state. Then a one-party state simply meant that no other political party shall be formed, and that is it. That clause became very good for the president at that particular point in time. My brothers and sisters, we brought in MMD. The people rose again. We brought in MMD, who promised us to revisit that particular article and to make things better. And ever since MMD has come into power, we have never seen the major changes that they made. Yes, they made some drastic changes. Yes, they have. They allowed people to be on platforms and form political parties and so on and so on and so on. It was allowed. We had rallies and so on and so on and so on. Michael Sata, PF government, would have never been in power, never, ever been in power, if the MMD never gave him permission to hold rallies and so on and so on. But here we see the same constitution, the same article. President Sata is using it to silence opposition again. So we are going back to square one, back to the colonial days, simply because this article is still there. My problem with government is this, that it is not my fault that they have not changed that article. It is their fault. We have spoken time and time again over this particular issue. For a government even today to say to the people of this country, to say people there, out there in the villages, they don't even know what a constitution is. They may be right in a way, but they should be ashamed of themselves that their own subjects don't know what a constitution is. After 50 years of independence, they don't know what their rights are. Is that my fault? That's your government's fault. If your government doesn't go and educate the people, sensitize people about their rights and so on and so on and so on, they, of course, are going to get a nation that doesn't understand their rights. So what we have to ensure as a nation and as a people, that excuse me, the next government that comes into power, we need them to take these recommendations to every school in our country and to discuss it at every level, not only at district level, but even at ward level. We need people to be sensitized. We need to know what is our rights. When somebody builds a hospital in a district, it's not for Dante Saunders to say, oh, thank you very much, you built a hospital, hooray, hooray. No, no, no. Why should I thank them? It's the government's job to build hospitals. It's the government's job to build roads. It's the government's job to provide schools and good schools and so on and so on. So the list goes on. We should not be in a position where we must be thanking the people in government for giving us this. It's our money they're using anyway. Issue of, which is human rights and so on and so on. I think that is very important, that we should, say to people, this is your rights. Yesterday I was talking to some people and I was very perturbed when I heard, some people answering back and saying, but, Dante, we've never had a constitution all these years, is it really necessary? And I'm looking at some of these educated people and I'm saying, it is very important to put your rights on a piece of paper. So, Mr. Ngwale, I appreciate his wisdom and his judgment, and I just simply say that all we are trying to do is assist by coming up with some kind of format to say to people, if you want to go through the entire issue, go through it by all means. But I think you remember at the back of your mind, these are the 10 issues that are critical. If you find more in the Constitution, well, that's fine. It may be added to 11, 12, 13, 14, we don't know.
The word that is going on the streets. Everybody is asking, when will it be released? When will we have this constitution? Everyone is talking about the constitution. And we are all excited when we want to see about this constitution. We want to see our views on this constitution. We cannot stop talking about the constitution as we long await for a proper roadmap in which we shall expect our constitution. Conferencer?
Yes, thank you very much, Tilienji. And obviously we have heard the sentiments coming from Dante Saunders right there. One of the people who has had experience with a number of constitution-making committees and commissions themselves. Thank you very much to you listening to us at home and several other places. On behalf of my co-producer Tilienji Mwanza, remember very soon you will be able to access some of these programs under the focus on our YouTube channel, which will be up and running very soon. Join us next week for yet another exciting edition as we focus on yet another hot issue that we will be discussing. Do have a lovely evening.